Hi there, I'm Mark Finney, Gibbs Pro Staff. I'm here to show you how to use bait with Rhys Davis heads around Vancouver for the spring and summer months. I'll show you how to rig them, what I do with the bait, and how I tie up the hookups so that you get the best hookup rates. There's very many different colors, UV, glows, chrome heads to help you with any weather pattern there is or any water conditions. I use a very simple method to tie up my hooks because when you're out there and let's say you run into some dogfish or little guys or anything that can nick lines, this is an easy way to do it. Another good thing is to have 6 or 12 extra leaders tied up before the day, because if you do run into a big school of dogfish or something, the last thing you want to do is spend quality fishing time tying up new leaders. I literally thread it through, hold it. I do 5 to 7 wraps, get the other line, which I've cut to roughly a 6-foot leader, through the head, and there. When you go like that, nothing's going to ever break that. And then, depending, hey, you use 5 inches to 6-inch anchovies. So when you do this second hook, depending what bait you use, it can fluctuate. But right now I'm using like 5 1/4 Rhys Davis bait, and I just do a little thing, couple inches between, same thing. I wrap around 5 to 7 times, thread it through the head, and I go like that. I then grab whatever head I would like. We'll do this head, the UV green, which is one of my favorites for cohos or springs. You thread it through. There's your leader. Now we have to crimp the hook still, and one secret that some people I think miss out on is I always have my handy toothpicks next to me. There's a little thing right here, little plastic thing. You ram the toothpick in there, but I ram it really hard in there because the harder it is to pull, the more I can get that little angle on that bait that I want to get the spin I like. I have about a 5 1/2-foot leader. I always use bead swivels with the jellyfishing out there. It's always nice to have a bead swivel, so if you have a single little swivel, it will get tangled up and stop rotating with the red jellyfish, but these will last longer. If there are jellyfish in the waters, you will have to check your gear and just make sure that the jelly is off the swivels because it will twist your line. So here we have the UV green with a treble with a single stinger. We attach it to our chartreuse glow Gibbs flasher. There we go. The perfect setup that I love for cohos and springs off the Fraser or off the West Van shoreline. Now that we've tied up our Rhys Davis head, I'm going to show you how I like to hook it up and how I put the bait in. I always use Rhys Davis anchovies. They always seem to, you know what, I know what I'm getting every package. They're in great shape, and I use 5 1/4, 5 1/2, and 6-inch anchovies depending on days, time of year, or whatever. But I usually have a bunch of them salted the night before, and I usually throw 2 or 3 different sizes in there because it's amazing one day to the next how it can change. The bait size means a lot some days. So I have my salted bait. And again, they've been in there a day or so. The main reason I use salt is just to stiffen them up a bit. It makes them shiny. And if you're in tidal waters and all this, they last a lot longer. Here's an anchovy that has been salted. Here's our Rhys Davis head that we just tied up. Take the red pin out. You stick the head in like that. You stick through its head. Now what I do, everybody's got their preference. I use this treble. I stick it in its side just like that, just slightly. And when they do get salted and a bit harder, you can get the shape you want, and in the water that will make it have a great spin. And as you can tell, that single is just dangling right where the back fin of the anchovy is, and quite often that catches 80% of the fish some days is on that trailing hook. Now that we have our anchovy in the Rhys Davis head, this is the bend I prefer, but you can make it less bent or more bent, whatever your preference is. And some days more bend will create more hits, and some days the less bend will create more hits. My preference is something like that normally, and then it gets quite a nice torpedo spin in the water. Now let's see how this spins in the water. I just like that little spin like this. Now with coho, a tighter spin quite often, and for spring salmon or Chinook salmon, I like sometimes a bigger spin on the rotation of the anchovy. It's a wounded fish swimming through the water, and then whatever sparks their bite, it's depending on the spin, they come and they nail it from behind. There you have it, how to tie up a Rhys Davis head, the way I like to tie it up and many other people do. If you have any questions about it, look up gibbsdelta.com on info on Rhys Davis heads or any of their products.